start off our video, we're going to be talking about some basics about Wisconsin, including the year it became a state, demographic information, symbols, and some other info.
Wisconsin became a state in 1848. The origin of the state name is based on an Indian word Wisconsin believed to mean grassy place. Its capital is Madison, and the nickname of the state is Badger State. Some other symbols are the animal, which is a badger, the beverage, which is milk, the fruit is cranberry, and the bird is robin. Wisconsin's population is 5.758 million people. The representative of Roberts is John Knutson, and the representative of Hammond is John Murtha.
Next question is, what is the Wisconsin idea and how has it shaped our state?
So the Wisconsin idea describes a relationship between three things: the University of Wisconsin, state government, and the boundaries of the state. The Wisconsin idea satisfies the need for practical solutions to problems facing the state, and also serves as a model for institutional cooperation at all levels of government. It had its height in the first part of the 20th century. It has come to describe the partnership between the academic world and the government for the benefit of common good. So next question, how does separation of powers relate to the different branches of Wisconsin government? Like the U.S. Constitution, the Wisconsin Constitution does not explicitly require separation, but it does not grant the powers of government to separate branches. The Wisconsin Supreme Court has held that each branch has an exclusive zone of core powers, and that the branches share certain other powers. Wisconsin's Supreme Court has taken a fairly permissive attitude toward sharing of power, so the various branches overlap more in Wisconsin than most other states.
What are the basics of our state legislature and what is the lawmaking process in Wisconsin?
The primary function of the state legislature is to make laws. The two houses are 1, the Senate, which has 33 members, and 2, the Assembly, which has 99 members. The Senate serves a 4-year term, while the Assembly serves a 2-year term. The Senate is run by Judith Robson, and the Assembly is run by Michael Hubsk. The lawmaking process for both the Senate and the Assembly are quite similar. First, the law is introduced to the Assembly. Then the Assembly has their standing committee. Then the public hearing. Then the committee amendments. Next, the floor debate and amendments, and then it is passed a message to the Senate. The Senate then is received from the Assembly, then has their standing committee, then public hearing, and then committee amendments, then floor debate and amendments, then concurred in, and finally it goes back to the Assembly. Then the law is enrolled and then goes to the governor. The governor can 1, law without signature, 2, approve with signature, and 3, veto the whole thing or part. The Assembly and Senate may review, veto, and possibly pass it over.
So, what are the different administrative offices within the executive branch and the primary responsibility of each office? Also, who currently holds these offices?
The Attorney General is Brad Schibel. He is the head of the State Department of Justice and the chief legal officer for the state. He provides legal advice and representation for all state agencies. The governor is Scott Walker. The governor, the head of the executive branch and the highest state office in Wisconsin, is popularly elected every 4 years by a plurality and has no term limit. The lieutenant governor, Rebecca Kleefisch, the main duty of the lieutenant governor in the U.S. is to act as governor should the governor be temporarily absent from office. The Secretary of State is Doug LaFollette. An elected executive official in the Wisconsin state government keeps a record of all official acts of the legislature and executive department of the state. The state treasurer is Kurt Schuller, the official charged with overseeing revenue and finances and generally acting as the state's chief banker is what the state treasurer does. The state superintendent of public instruction, Tony Evers, provides leadership for Wisconsin's public school districts, provides the public with information about school management attendance, and licenses the state's teachers.
What is the function and difference between referendum, recall, and initiative?
Alright, the two main types of referenda include binding and advisory. Binding referenda is a measure that takes effect if approved by voters. An advisory referendum is conducted for opinion purposes only. Electors indicate their support or opposition to a referendum by a yes or no vote. Recall is a procedure by which electors submit petitions to force an election to decide whether an incumbent election official will remain in office. An initiative is the procedure that enables citizens to propose and enact a law, ordinance, or resolution through referendum. So, next question. What are the basics of the Wisconsin court system?
The judges in Wisconsin's court system are chosen in nonpartisan elections in the spring of each year. The structure of Wisconsin's court system has four main parts. The municipal courts deal with town cases, while the circuit courts deal with county cases. If either of those do not work, they can go to the Court of Appeals. If the case is extremely important, it can move all the way up to the Supreme Court. A very important case in Wisconsin's history is State v. Lang. Some background information is the Maple Bluff police arrested Mitchell A. Lang for operating a motor vehicle while intoxicated, second offense after a car crashed into a utility pole. Two officers saw a car going what they thought 15 miles per hour over the speed limit. They followed the vehicle and were even going 84 miles per hour but were not able to catch up. They soon saw smoke and found a car crash into a utility pole. Lang later said that they were not able to arrest him since they did not have probable cause and was knocked out. The Court of Appeals agreed that it wasn't right, but later the Supreme Court reviewed the decision and the state police did have the probable cause.
What are the two types of municipalities and their basic responsibilities?
So, general law or statutory local governments are counties and municipalities that do not have their own charter. Many states have restrictions based on population or form of government for which local governments can adopt a charter. Some states have no provision or chartered local government whatsoever. Counties and municipalities that do not qualify to have a charter or do not choose to have one are governed under the state constitutional provisions and state statutes of the particular state that lay out the fundamental governance doctrine for such local governments. A chartered city, county, or municipality is one that possesses a unique set of laws that forms the legal foundation or its local system of government. The actual legal document that articulates these laws is called a charter. Charters stand in relationship to a county, city, village, or town the same way that a state constitution does to a state or a federal constitution does to a nation. They define the powers and functions of elected officials as well as organization and procedures of local government. Next question. What are the basics of a township and a county government?
Towns provide some of the same services as cities and villages but are organized differently. A town's most important responsibility is usually to provide road maintenance. Towns are usually governed by a board of 3 supervisors elected by the people. Town boards carry out all public policies and duties set at an annual town meeting. County government is the oldest form of local government in Wisconsin. It may perform only those functions assigned to them by state law. Generally, counties are responsible for social services such as child welfare and culture services such as parks. They can also help in road maintenance and law enforcement. Can either have one or of two kinds of executive officials: a county executive elected by the people, or a county administrator appointed by the Board of Supervisors.
To end off, we'll be talking about the purpose of Wisconsin's public record and open meeting laws.
So, the Open Records Law is a series of laws designed to guarantee that the public has access to public records of government bodies at all levels in Wisconsin. The Wisconsin Open Records Law was first enacted into law in the year of 1982. The Wisconsin Open Meetings Law sets out which meeting of which government bodies must be open to the public, the type and timing of public notice about the meetings, and the requirements for public participation. The Wisconsin Open Meetings Law legislates the methods by which public meetings are conducted.